Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cartoon Boom. This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun, plop down on the floor with the big bowl of sugary cereal, and enjoy your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm your eccentric cheese-loving inventor who transforms into a rampaging rabbit at night, Joseph.
And I'm a freakishly large vegetable. My name's Chris.
And today, for the final episode of 2022's OCTOONBER celebration, we watched Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Ooh, spooky. Nothing worse than a were-rabbit.
I mean, I could think of worse things.
You can't. Don't lie to me. No such thing.
I think pretty much were anything else. Werewolves.
What about a were-hen?
Were-tigers. Man, yeah, a were-hen. Chickens are mean, especially roosters. Did you ever have a pet rabbit?
No, but there's a lot of them in our yard all the time. And Ayla hates them.
Well, maybe she's onto something.
No, they seem pretty okay, except they're always eating our vegetables. So I kind of get where this movie's coming from.
Yeah, so at least that tracks.
Yeah.
Okay. So who suggested this to us?
This was suggested to us by Mike Root via YouTube. So thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Oops, hang on. This was suggested to us by Mike via YouTube. So thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Yeah. If you could not use the last name there, Jack, that would be great. If you can cut that out.
You can use either of
Jack?
you can use either of my thanks, Mike, since that's all I said. I don't know why I had to repeat mine.
No, yeah, use the second one. It was way better.
I think the first one was better, but
nah.
Your discretion. So the movie Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit aired in 2005, based on Wallace and Gromit, which was created by Nick Park, the first short film being A Grand Day Out, aired in 1989.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been around for that long.
I had no idea.
But this is the first feature-length film it's had. It was all shorts prior to this or TV shows.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I got a lot of things to share, a lot of marshmallows in a little bit.
Okay, cool.
This one was directed by Nick Park and Steve Box, produced by Aardman Animations and DreamWorks Animation. For a short synopsis, Wallace and his loyal dog Gromit set out to discover the mystery behind the garden sabotage that plagues their village and threatens the annual giant vegetable growing contest.
Yeah, it tracks.
Yeah, this was set in the 50s, I think, basically. So you're not going to have like cell phones or anything. So come in knowing that.
You know, I never even gave it a thought as to like a certain era that it was set in. Like, I think they did a pretty good job of just like, and I don't know, maybe this is also dumb American watching something British, but like, I just, for whatever reason, I didn't question anything about the timeline. I was just like accepting it for being, oh, it's just a cute little British story in like maybe an older, village, and that might be slightly behind the times. But I never gave it any thought about it being something from the 50s. I thought of it as something that could be, happening now, just in a, old place.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I was looking at it. I didn't know it was from the 50s until I was reading up on it a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess. I mean, it could honestly be, though, just a small town that's a little out of touch with the present, I guess, or with the future.
Yeah.
So it reads either way. So just know that it's from the 50s, but it doesn't really affect the story that much.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So who were some of the actors who played in this movie?
So there's not very many main characters in this. There's really only 5, and only 4 of them speak. As far as like the main characters, there's a lot of like odd characters that show up here and there, but I'm just going to stick with the main 4 that talk and that we run into more often than not. The first being Wallace, of course, which was voiced by Peter Sallis. And then his dog, Gromit, no voice actor. Gromit has no speaking part. He's just a cool dog that does a lot of cool things. He's kind of like Brain a little bit from Inspector Gadget if Brain never spoke.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Just because of how smart this dog is to Wallace's gadget-like tendencies.
Yeah, it's almost like if Brain and Penny were merged into one dog being and not even spoke, but like Gromit doesn't even bark, growl, anything. He's just completely silent at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cute. Lady Tottington, aka Totty, is voiced by Helena Bonham Carter, very obviously famous actress who's in pretty much anything Tim Burton ever touches. Also famous for playing Bellatrix Lestrange in the Harry Potter franchise. The character of Victor Quatermain was voiced by Ralph Fiennes, also another famous actor. He's in a lot of things like The Kingsman, more famously, again, the Harry Potter franchise as Lord Voldemort. I spoke his name.
Oh,
you're not supposed to say his name, Joseph.
You've done it now.
Yeah. And then Reverend Hedges, who is pretty prominent. He came up quite a bit more often than all the other random townspeople, voiced by Nicholas Smith. Both, I just thought I'd bring up both Nicholas Smith and Peter Sallis. Both have passed on since this movie has been made. And to be honest, like the majority of voice actors, save Ralph Fiennes and Helena Bonham Carter, all like fairly elderly cast, which I feel like you don't see a whole lot in like voiceover that much these days. But the majority of them were extremely like in that elderly range. So quite a few of them have passed on since the making of this film.
That's interesting that you say that, because I had read that. So Peter Sallis, he had been the actor for Wallace in the other shorts, all of them, as far as I understand. And when this was being made into a feature-length movie, DreamWorks, I believe, was trying to get like a more well-known American actor, or at least a more actor that Americans would know more, to do the voice. But they were really firm in saying, like, no, we're not going to do it like without Peter Sallis. Like, he's the voice of Wallace, like they do. And when they make any kind of animated feature into a movie, they always try to tie all these big stars to it. Like Scooby-Doo's fell victim to that. Mario's falling victim to it currently. So it's like, it's a very common thing.
That's the really big one right now, is the Mario movie. Of like, a lot of voice actors are like, why did you not use Charles Martinet? He's been Mario for decades. Like, everyone hears that voice as Mario. Why did you go and just hire a big name actor to replace him? It was all, it's a marketing thing. It's to tie a big actor to something.
Exactly.
For the recognizability. And it's just like, but it's not like the actor that's going to pull people in. It's the character itself. That's the whole point of making the thing in the first place, is people love the character. So
right. And so it's just kudos to this studio, to Aardman Animations or probably Nick Park, their creator as well, and Steve Box, the other director, for being so steadfast and being like, no, it's Peter Sallis or no one. And I'm glad that they stuck with it, because, like, it's awesome to see all these original characters tied to their actual characters.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Wallace and Gromit, the Curse of the Were-Rabbit cereal, a few more tasty marshmallows. Originally, this was titled Wallace and Gromit, The Great Vegetable Plot. I'm so glad they changed the name, because Curse of the Were-Rabbit is much more catchy. Yeah, it doesn't tell you anything about this story, really, if it's just the Great Vegetable Plot. Like, yeah, that sounds like a weird heist. Yeah, it just tells me vegetables are involved and they're being stolen. And it also makes it sound infinitely boring and something I would not ever want to watch. Yeah. Like this one, I just didn't watch because I didn't really know about it, but I would have avoided it if it was the Great Vegetable Plot. I was like, that doesn't sound fun at all. For sure. So good on them for changing the name. The directors, Nick Park and Steve Box, have often referred to this film as the world's first vegetarian horror film. Oh, that's pretty Which funny. Is an interesting take on it. And I was thinking about that. I was like, did anybody eat meat in this? And I can't remember meat ever even being mentioned. It was just all vegetables. It was either vegetables or cheese. Yeah, true. Yeah. There was a lot of cheese. So not vegans, but vegetarians. Yeah, not a single. Yeah, there was no meat eating whatsoever. The film required 2.8 tons of plasticine in 42 colors and 1,000 baby wipes per week to wipe it off animators' fingers. Wow. Yeah. Goodness. This when I was looking into this process, it is insane. So this film took 5 years to make. Production started shortly after the release of Chicken Run, which was Aardman Studios' previously co-produced movie with DreamWorks Animation. During filming, Aardman managed an average of 3 seconds of usable footage per day. 3
Oh my
seconds.
God.
Yeah.
Did you ever try like stop go animation or claymation or anything like that as a
I
kid?
think every kid does. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of get it. Like you have these like ideas or like, I don't know, like when I was a kid, I always had these ideas and I would try to make little movies with my action figures and an old camera doing the same thing. Like you hit record, then immediately turn it off. And then you move like the thing a little bit and do the same thing. And yeah, man, like I just remember like you do so much and then you'd get super frustrated with just how long it takes to do things. And like, but I mean, when you're done, you are happy, but I mean, it looks like garbage because you're a kid doing it.
And at some point, like you've moved the figure too much and it looks unnatural and you're not pleased with it. And it's like, oh,
it's always janky.
Yeah. So I totally get, because this animation is so smooth. Maybe some of the smoothest like claymation animation I've ever seen. So I understand when they say that it's no exaggeration of that 3 seconds per day average.
By far the smoothest I've ever seen ever, as far as like clay animation, claymation, whatever you want to call it. I've never seen anything so well done as far as that style goes.
So the character Hutch, which we'll go into who that is once we get there, only speaks phrases spoken by Wallace previously in the movie and preceding short films. So he doesn't have any original lines. He's only parroting Wallace in what he has said so far in the movie and in the other shorts.
Right. And those actually are Wallace's lines and with a filter put on them. Like it literally is his lines.
But it sounds like that wouldn't work, but it totally worked. These random lines being inserted at random times. Sometimes they would kind of tie into the way the scene was. And it's like, okay, that's kind of funny. But yeah, it completely convinced me. Like it was really good. I'm glad they went that direction.
Yeah.
The Were-Rabbit had an internal mechanism that allowed the animators to move the model with minimal touching of the fur covering, thus avoiding the telltale impressions left by their fingers. Another reason why it looks so smooth, especially that, because that thing was covered in all this like fur or whatever, like this clay fur. So of course, if you start touching it and moving it around, it's going to get those fingerprints. And so they just had a mechanism inside of it.
That's a good point because, like, yeah, with some of the other models you do, every once in a while, you can notice a fingerprint. I remember there's one scene, and I don't remember the particular scene, but it was a close-up on Gromit. And, like, right below one of his eyes, you could see a little bit of a fingerprint left in there. And I was just thinking about that and just, you know, it's just a reminder that these are human hands just moving all of these things.
So there's kind of a charm to that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
The Were-Rabbit model broke 3 times during the climax.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So, you know, I assume part of just having it have that mechanism inside of it. It wasn't perfect, but, you know, they made it work.
Yeah.
Although not overtly set in any particular town, Park had hinted that it was inspired by 1950s Wigan in northern England. So
Wigan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where that is, but northern England somewhere.
Do any of you Wiggins feel like this is familiar?
Any of our Wigan listeners, does that feel familiar to you? Yeah.
Yeah. Does this place look, I don't know, if you watch this movie, does it feel like looking at your backyard? Any of you Wiggins out there?
I know we have listeners who live in England. So is anyone familiar with Wigan?
Yeah. I don't know.
I've never heard of it. Okay. Last one. In January 2022, a standalone sequel feature film was announced, which is due to release in 2024 on Netflix. So there's a sequel coming out. So this will be the second Wallace and Gromit feature film in about 2 years.
Wow. And now, is it a sequel to this one specifically or just a Wallace and Gromit sequel?
It says a standalone sequel feature film. So it's really emphasizing the sequel part. So I don't know. Like, I would assume a direct sequel.
I don't know. If they say standalone, though, that makes it sound like it's another movie, another Wallace and Gromit, you know, full feature movie. But when they say standalone, that makes me think it's going to be a different story.
I guess it's kind of conflicting. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
When it says standalone and then sequel, it's like, well, which is it?
That doesn't make. Yeah, you're right. That's very contradictory.
Yeah. So I'm not sure, but I'm just glad there's more Wallace and Gromit coming out. So, hey.
Yeah.
Grateful for that. So let's go ahead and jump into the movie we watched. I don't really know. I mean, coming into it, like I didn't really know a lot about Wallace and Gromit. I had seen them before, I had heard them mentioned, but it wasn't something I was super familiar with. Since obviously, like during the last episode, I was like, did Wallace even talk? I don't know. And so I don't think I'd ever seen any of it.
Did you have any preconceived notions of what it might be like? I'm kind of curious about that.
Not really. The only thing, I definitely didn't see Wallace as an inventor of any sort. I was so clueless on this. I was just like, okay, it's just going to be some like comedic escapades with this guy and his dog. I didn't assume Gromit was going to be the really smart one. So no, I came in very blind to it and was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I thought it would be very much just stuck in all, I guess, more dialogue British humor and situational humor, where I guess what I'm trying to say is I did not expect to see any type of action in this. And there was actually a lot of action in this movie.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't know how that compares to the shorts that preceded it, but if it's anything like this, I definitely want to find those other ones. Because, okay, so we'll start talking about it. We open up with a good like introductory scene of what really sets the plot of what's going on in this town in general. So we are seeing this, like, it kind of opens up just going through their house, seeing all these pictures on the wall. And then we get like a first person perspective of some kind of creature that's sneaking around a garden. And that sets off this kind of scary looking gnome alarm that has like red eyes. It kind of reminds me of the gnomes from Invader Zim in his yard. And so what this alarm does is it triggers a Pee-wee's Playhouse type set of gadgets to go off to alert Wallace and Gromit, who are the town's local exterminators, quote unquote, that take care of pests like rabbits.
And just the way everything goes, it's so weird because it's like per like each person in this town where they have their little gnome, I guess, alerts placed. Yeah, they've got like a portrait of each person with like the eyes cut out, and then they have light bulbs for eyes in there.
And those will
flash,
depending on whose alarm goes off.
So that tells you like, it tells you like, you know, where the alert is going, where the critter is in their garden and everything. I just thought that was weird. And then in addition to that too, like you talked about them being like inventors and stuff. They have these super, like the whole house is just rigged up with all these weird, like Rube Goldberg kind of machines that get them like out of bed and get them into their gear and into their van and, you know, and just wake them up in general, like, you know, pour them coffee, bring out a slice of cheese to wake Wallace up. Cause that's like, he does everything for cheese. Like it's a Scooby snack, like cheese is his weakness. And it's the only thing that will bring him to life basically. And yeah, they get up, they basically get suited up from their machines, get into the van and drive off to this garden where they do some almost like fun little like spy, like Black Ops infiltration little escapades to get into the garden and catch this rabbit who's in the middle of stealing this gigantic pumpkin.
Yeah. It's this woman's prized pumpkin setup that she's been growing for the town's local giant vegetable annual competition. And so this rabbit's trying to steal it. You know, the rabbit starts fighting back and they take care of it. And, you know, I think they say they euthanize them or something. But what really happens is they take them to their house and just like put them in these like pens in the kind of basement area and just keep them all alive and feed them. So they just kind of keep them in a little sanctuary under the house.
Yeah, they've got tons of them. Like there's dozens of rabbits there that Gromit has to now like cut up carrots for and like feed them. And they keep getting back into Wallace's house. Like when when Gromit's trying to cut up the carrots for them, like they're inside the kitchen stealing all the food and causing all kinds of mischief, that was a really funny scene.
Like little Mogwai or gremlins, basically. Yeah, that was really good. Where Gromit opened the fridge to try to find them and they were all hiding in the door. That was really fun.
they get a call from Lady Tottington, who is a very, wealthy person in this town. I guess the wealthiest person in town. She also has this suitor named Victor Quartermain, who is just a huge, just jerk, just super pompous. I don't know, like idiot.
Yeah,
And,
all of the above.
And has his own dog named Philip.
Yeah, Philip's great.
Great. Yeah, I do like Philip, even though he's a jerk too. And she's got a big rabbit problem at her place. Victor just wants to kill all the rabbits, but she is very pacifist, she loves animals just as much as she loves her veggies and gardens and stuff. She doesn't want to see any harm come to these things. So she hires Wallace and Gromit to come out and take care of it. And I don't remember if we said it, but their little pest control place is called Antipesto, which is just a silly joke in and of itself. It's just a dumb little.
It's kind of a layered joke. And so Wallace's last name is Pesto, which explains that part at least.
I did not realize that. That makes it even better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So they show up while she's trying to get, Victor to, not shoot these rabbits. Wallace comes out with Gromit and this giant contraption that they stick to one of the rabbit holes. And it's like a big vacuum.
Yeah. The Bunvac 6000.
Yeah, it just starts sucking all the rabbits out, and there's tons of them. It just sucks them all out of there. And luckily sucks one out right as Vic shoots at one of them. So at first you think the rabbit's dead and in heaven because it's just floating around. And I'm like, oh, dang, it killed him. And then it's just oh, no, he's floating around inside the vacuum. Okay.
Yeah. And
that was funny.
Simultaneously, so Victor looks down to see where that rabbit's gone, and his toupee gets sucked off out of his head into the Bunvac as well. And then Wallace says, I don't remember why he turned up the power of the vacuum, but he asked Gromit to turn it up some, and that then proceeds to bring Victor down too, through the rabbit hole into the vacuum. And so automatically you've got this adversity from Victor towards Wallace. And in addition to that, Wallace is very attracted to Lady Tottington, and Victor is her suitor, essentially. He's lined up to marry her, or something to that effect. And so there's that competition right there.
Yeah, and Lady Tottington obviously starts kind of getting a little bit flirty with Wallace as well. She gets a little flustered around him, and
he keeps thinking she's trying to kiss him too.
Yeah, I think he's hoping, and she's always doing other things. But it's just the whole situation just makes it so much worse. Victor just keeps getting more and more angry and looking for any excuse to, take Wallace down a notch, while Wallace is kind of oblivious to Victor in that way and is just trying to be a nice dude and really trying to do whatever he can to impress Lady Tottington. He's not paying attention to Victor really. And there's a funny exchange using, basic just conversational misunderstandings that are pretty funny, where he's was it Victor says something I want my hair, and he's looking at Wallace and he's just oh, those aren't hairs, those are rabbits.
Those
hairs
are rabbits.
Are much bigger.
Yeah, hairs are much larger. Yeah. But first that conversation starts off with him being he's trying to keep it a secret that he wears a toupee, even though it's obvious at this point. So he whispers to him, he's I want toupee. And he's okay, we accept cash and credit. And it's no.
Yeah.
My hair.
Oh, God. Yeah, it was good. So things don't go well for Victor. He looks like a fool. Wallace looks like he knows what he's doing, he's the good guy. And now he's got all these, new rabbits to take back home, which he does. And they're trying to figure out a way. Now he's got all of these rabbits and they're kind of running out of space. It's, it's hard for them to upkeep with all these rabbits. He's thinking about what is something that they can do for these rabbits aside from keeping them all under Wallace's house. And that's when he thinks of this other invention that he's got. And he's just talking about how maybe we can essentially rehabilitate the rabbits using this machine. And this machine he's got, I don't remember the name of it. I'm sure you have it written down.
That one is his I don't know if he said the name of it, but it's essentially just a little brainwashing machine.
Yeah, it like he has this machine that can pull thoughts out of somebody's head, like erase a thought. So what he wants to do is hook that machine on him up to the vacuum machine where all the rabbits are, basically suck the thoughts he's thinking out of his head and put them into the rabbits, because I guess that would work. I don't know.
Well, the way and he wants to power it by using some lunar power as well to enhance his mind waves. And he keeps repeating is like, you know, veg bad, veg bad, veg bad, and like say no to carrots, cabbage, and cauliflower. So he's doing that while also combining it with the Bunvac 6000 so that he can work on all of these creatures at the same time, all of these rabbits at the same time, instead of doing it one at a time.
Right, exactly. And so it's very important that the vac thing is on the suck setting while this is happening. Like, you know, it's sucking the thoughts he's thinking out of him and putting it into these rabbits. But he's like, okay, just another half hour of this. And he grabs the magazine and goes back to relax, and his foot hits the lever into blow. So instead, it reverses everything, and it sucks one of the rabbits up through the machine and like slams it against his head. And so it's basically like the attributes from this one specific rabbit are now being blown into Wallace, essentially, I think is what you're supposed to believe here, until everything just goes hangwire, it gets shut down, and Wallace inevitably breaks the machine itself. And that bunny, the rabbit, is just so twitchy. That was cracking me up.
Yeah,
he just looks so pathetic and shaky.
So Wallace offers it a carrot to see if his invention worked, and it like refuses to eat the carrot. So he assumes it works, and they name this reformed rabbit Hutch. But as we walk away from Hutch, he's just like shaking, and it's like, oh man, what's gonna happen with this rabbit?
Yeah, super twitchy. We see that night that not only are some vegetables getting eaten, they're getting eaten by something very large. I think was this when like it happens at the church with the priest?
Yeah, with the vicar, the priest. He is he has these giant eggplants, and he's tending to them. This is a cool scene. It's like this movie takes a lot of elements from horror movies, which I really appreciate, like Hammer horror movies specifically. And so he's walking around just like tending to his vegetables, and there's just like
blessing his vegetables as well.
Yeah, he's blessing them. And there's this like figure skulking around. It keeps letting out these burps, so he knows it's around, but he's not sure who it is or what it is. And then he finally like encounters this like figure. We don't see it yet because it's still a first person perspective, but he is just like begging for mercy and faints as this were-rabbit is eating his vegetables. We see the rabbit start going on an eating spree around the town and hunting down everyone's like prized vegetables. So much so that the next day on the paper, the morning, it says night of vegetable carnage in the papers. So they don't know what it is yet, but something has been eating their giant vegetables.
Yeah. I love when the priest uses the 2 cucumbers to try to make the sign of the cross.
Yeah.
And then the were-rabbit just eats it right out of his hand. Just chop.
So they have their Jaws like town hall meeting where they try to decide what to do with this menace. That's when, of course, the vicar, the priest, is saying like it basically like we have wrought God's wrath because we've been artificially growing these giant vegetables, and so this we've brought judgment upon ourselves.
He's like, this was no man.
With this thing with the teeth the size of axe blades and whatnot. And so this hideous creature has been sent to punish us all. So he's telling everyone to repent, and lest they too become victim of the were-rabbit. And so people aren't taking him seriously yet, but they just think like, oh, it's just a bigger rabbit. That's fine, whatever. Victor comes in offering again to shoot and kill the rabbit. But Lady Tonnington is like, you know, she never thinks killing small creatures is justified. She's trying to figure out what else they can do. And Wallace just like chimes in. He's like, well, they ask him like how we would fix this. And he chimes in. He's like, we just fix it with the big trap. And they're just like, by George, he's got it. They treat him like some kind of genius.
Yeah, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, never thought of that.
Madman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lady Tottington, like when he says that too, she's like swooning over it too.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
She's just enamored now. Everyone's like applauding him. And what I think is funny too is Gromit's kind of like, oh man, like, no, this
Gromit rolls his eyes so much at Wallace's plans.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously the brains of the operation.
Oh, absolutely. And then like we get our first like real big action scene kind of after this, which is where Wallace has constructed a fake were-rabbit suit that they have propped up on top of their van, and they have makeup on it so it looks like a female were-rabbit. And
Yeah.
Gromit is in the van, kind of controlling it reversely like a marionette, like moving it around so it kind of dances a little and shimmies, trying to draw the were-rabbit out so they can catch it. They immediately crash it into the top of an overpass, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, the good part about that was, though, Gromit at first just kind of moving around just so it would move. And then Wallace is like, no, be more alluring. And then Gromit starts doing like a sexy little dance and stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny seeing that with this giant, like crudely constructed rabbit. And yeah, it then falls off. Wallace has to go back and get the pieces of it from, the beginning of the tunnel where it fell. And this is where, like you said, we get our first real action scene because the were-rabbit shows up.
Yeah, the were-rabbit kind of appears, is running through the streets. Gromit, was trying to wait on Wallace, but since Wallace didn't come back yet, he lassos it from the van, and it's like pulling him through the streets and everything. And did you catch there's a split second in this scene where you see the jack-o'-lantern scarecrow from The Nightmare Before Christmas?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's just for like a split second. It's just there, right by like a little vegetable stand outside of a house.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I caught it and I was like, oh, snap, that's cool. Another, amazing claymation style movie. So anyway, this huge rabbit like burrowed underground, and now it pulls Gromit in the van through the ground. So it's like pulling him through, and there's like a series of kind of funny jokes and antics and stuff that ensue because of that. And the interesting part is that once it's all over and the rope breaks and the were-rabbit gets away, Gromit has to keep driving, through the underground, and finally pops back out at the very end of the tunnel, which ends up being in their own backyard. And I love the scene, like how slowly Gromit is taking everything, like walking through the house, following the muddy footprints of the were-rabbit. And like, you can tell like the apprehension and kind of like the tense nervousness that Gromit is feeling, just watching his expressions as he slowly walks through the house, seeing some of the damage, looking for Wallace, but also you kind of get that he's starting to suspect that it could be something to do with Wallace, and maybe he's hoping that it is not the case. Wallace even at one point is just like, where were you? Like, you were supposed to stay put. And Gromit just straight up ignores him and just keeps walking, following these footprints. But then they lead downstairs to the basement, and he goes over and he sees that Hutch's little cage he was in is destroyed, because Hutch is there, and Hutch is now much too big for it and is kind of standing upright, sort of like a human.
Yeah. And what's amazing about it is that for not having any speaking lines, Gromit displays so much emotion for a claymation dog that you understand his character's motivation and what he's thinking at just about all times. And that's just really great artsmanship or craftsmanship.
Yeah. It was so well done.
Yeah. And so, they, at this point, they're thinking, okay, well, they are thinking, okay, so Hutch is the were-rabbit. What are we going to do now? Because he has obviously taken in some of Wallace's traits, and he is starting to become more humanoid. And I guess at night, he goes into some kind of different form. So that's what we're thinking at this point. And so Gromit builds a larger cage around Hutch to keep him contained. And then that's when immediately we find out, well, Wallace goes to tell Lady Toddington, like, that, okay, we've got it under control. We've captured the giant rabbit. Everything's fine. Or the were-rabbit. Everything's fine. And then we have another scene of Gromit following footsteps, like more of these giant footsteps that lead to Wallace's room. And he sees them transform from the giant rabbit footprints to human footprints. And when he opens Wallace's door, he sees all these like partially eaten giant vegetables. And it's like the shock on his face is just fantastic.
Yeah.
That's when we get the big reveal. Yeah.
Yeah. The big reveal that Wallace is the were-rabbit. And like, as soon as that happens too, Lady Toddington's like, oh, I have to show you something I've never shown anyone. And I think Wallace immediately thinks it's going to be something sexy because he's like, oh.
Yeah, something I've shown no other man. Yeah.
But she takes him up like this elevator to like, she has this gigantic secret garden and it's just full of all these huge vegetables. And it's like, oh no, this is the worst place for him to be.
Yeah.
And he's like salivating over everything. And we're just kind of watching the sky as the sun's starting to go down, the moon's starting to come up. We're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's a really tense scene. And Gromit knows also, because now that he understands that it has been Wallace, he's like, oh man. So he starts going to Lady Toddington's place while this is all transpiring. And she's getting very flirty with him, ask him to call her Toddy, which is an English term for a desirable woman. So it's like a pet name.
Oh,
yeah. And
there we go.
But also her name, which is just like,
yeah.
So
double meaning.
Yeah, exactly. So Gromit is like spying on them from the ground because it's in this like higher up point in the house in this dome thing. And he's just trying to monitor Wallace and trying to get his attention too, like throwing things at him, but he keeps like missing. And she shows him her prized giant carrot, which is where he is just about to like, he's salivating over it. He is going to attack at this point. So Gromit hits the sprinkler head to make sure those come on and basically subdue the scene. And that's where they start heading home after like Wallace or Gromit finally gets him to stop and just like takes him back to the house or starts taking him back to the house. But this sets off kind of a different part, a subplot basically that we were talking about earlier with Victor being Wallace's like adversary. So as they're driving home, it's almost nighttime. Gromit's very nervous because he knows Wallace is about to turn. And they come across this giant tree that's been knocked down in front of them. So they can't drive home. So they have to get out and try to move it. Wallace is trying to move it, but, you know, he's still just Wallace, so he can't do anything about it. Victor comes out with his axe and starts to challenge him to fisticuffs, basically, for the love of Lady Toddington. And this is this is where the moon really starts to come out, and you see Wallace's strength start to show as well, where he just throws Victor across the all the way like on top of their truck. And I love what Gromit does here. He just like slowly locks the doors and just like see how everything transpires. Philip the dog tries to get in, but Gromit just shakes his head no slowly. It's so good.
It was pretty good. Like the reactions of everybody was great. And the transformation scene looked really good.
Oh, yeah.
They did such a good job with that. And there was some funny parts too. Like, you know, he's literally ripping through his clothes as they're going. And I like when his shirt finally rips apart, each button like hits Victor in the face, which was just added to it. But yeah, I just kind of like towards the end, Victor like looks through the windshield at Gromit and Gromit just shrugs at him like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then, you know, and then he, you know, Victor knows what's up now. Victor runs off to the church, talks with the priest dude. And first he has to put aside his Wrestling Nuns magazine. And then finds the book of monsters. And in there he finds a passage about were-rabbits and how to kill them, which is only with a bullet of gold, 24 karat gold.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Victor's face was really funny. He was just like, oh, come on. In the meantime, like, so Gromit eventually gets back home in the morning, daylight, wakes Wallace up using their machines and everything. And Wallace is just like, none the wiser, except Wallace now has permanent rabbit ears. Like,
oh, yeah.
the change is starting to become permanent. And now Gromit's just like, oh, okay. And then shows him in a mirror. And Wallace is still just like not believing him because Gromit's pointing to a newspaper picture of the were-rabbit and then pointing at him. And Wallace is like, no, you think I'm the were-rabbit? No.
Yeah, Wallace thinks that it's the vegetable diet that Gromit has him on, and it's all the toxins coming out. It's his body purifying. Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah.
So then he's like, well, if I was becoming a rabbit, then wouldn't Hutch be becoming a man? So then they go downstairs to look at Hutch, and Hutch is like literally dressed like Wallace and keeps talking about cheese.
Mm-hmm. Cheese! Yeah, he's wearing a sweater vest and house shoes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and he keeps calling everyone lad.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, good lad. It's like, oh my goodness. That was a great reveal. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Wallace now believes he is the were-rabbit and is trying desperately to fix that machine to like reverse the process. But Lady Tottington shows up and kind of interrupts everything. And she was just kind of saying that, she's disappointed that, he said that he had caught the beast, but he obviously didn't because everything's still been going on. And she's trying to say that she has feelings for him, but like he's in the middle of changing again because when she came over, it's like right before nighttime again. And so he keeps like shutting the door on her and he's like acting really weird. And like she finally is just like, fine. And she starts leaving. And when she turned around, and he's like mid transformation. And it just like, you see his face like in the window with his tongue hanging out. And it looks like he's like blowing raspberries at her. It makes her cry because she thinks he's like
completely
taunting her,
insulting her. Yeah. Wouldn't even like shake her hand or leave as a friend or anything. Yeah.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
She's taking it very personal. Victor then approaches and Wallace is transforming and starts eating carrots and stuff. Gromit puts on the bunny lady costume to try to lure him away from Victor because Victor's got those 24 karat gold bullets now. And so they're hopping away and Victor takes a shot. The townspeople hear it and maybe they saw a rabbit fall or something, but they all assume that it's dead now and like it's over, everything's fine. And it's funny the transition of that because like the crowd is there with Lady Tottington and they're offering to like comfort her in her moment of sorrow, but then like it takes maybe like 2 or 3 seconds where they're feeling bad for her and then they all start cheering because the giant rabbit dead and the vegetable contest is back on.
Yep.
And so it's not until Victor goes up to what he thinks is the rabbit's corpse and sees that it's just the giant suit that has fallen to the ground with the Gromit in it. So he then captures Gromit and puts him in a cage and goes to find Wallace in order to get him.
Yeah, and Wallace is obviously heading towards the competition as the path of destruction is heading that way. So that's the way Victor's going to. They're all heading to the competition. To get out, Gromit ends up throwing something at their own lawn gnome sensor because realizing that Hutch is now like basically just Wallace. He does all the exact same things that Wallace does. So he is literally like sleeping in Wallace's bed. He trips the lawn gnome, which goes through the whole process we saw at the very beginning of the movie that gets him out of bed, wakes him up with cheese, gives him his coffee, gets him in his clothes, gets him in the van, which he drives the van backwards, hits the cage that Gromit's trapped in and like basically lets him out. And then he gets in and they drive off to the competition as well, where the rest of the movie essentially takes place. And there's so much action here, especially for a claymation movie. It kind of blows my mind a little bit as far as how they pulled all of this off, but it was very good.
So just to name a few highlights, because we don't have to go to the whole thing, but we've got the airplane chase that has Gromit and being getting one of the little airplane rides and like riding up, like it has to be coin operated. He's riding off in that And then Victor's dog, Philip, gets a little Red Baron plane, kind of like Snoopy's that you see. And he starts like riding that and chasing after Gromit, like pursuing him. You've also got the whole scene where Wallace, the were-rabbit, is basically Jaws, and you just see like this imprint, well, maybe more tremors, I guess, where you see this imprint in the ground going through towards all the vegetables. And there's this one scene where the old lady who, from the beginning, who has a giant pumpkin, like she's trying to run off with her giant pumpkin and leave the competition because she doesn't want to be any part of it anymore because of the were-rabbit and everything. So she starts running off. And people are like, come back. And then they see the were-rabbit chasing her and they're just like, keep going, go away.
Go away.
Yeah.
Another thing that was kind of interesting was the idea that, so Victor ran out of bullets. He used them all, never hit them. And so he looks over and he sees like a golden musket trophy. And then he sees the golden carrot trophy. And then he sees some fireworks. So he takes all three and basically is going to use this golden carrot trophy as the golden bullet in his golden musket trophy with the fireworks to now shoot, the were-rabbit and everything. At one point, the were-rabbit Wallace, because Victor starts yelling at Lady Tottington, who is angry with Victor, Wallace stops chasing vegetables and goes over to save her from Victor, grabs her up kind of King Kong style and climbs up her, her mansion or whatever, basically kind of up to her big garden again. And it's kind of up there that she realizes, because he's being so gentle, that it actually is Wallace. And she's like, oh my gosh, like you have to get out of here, and Victor gets up there and she's trying to protect him as much as she can. And then it kind of continues with like a little bit more action. That plane chase we were talking about was going on at the same time, leading to sort of a chase on some rooftops where Victor finally shoots the bullet, the carrot bullet. But the little toy plane thing that Gromit is in, he flies it in front of the bullet, and the little plane takes the hit, starts the crash. Wallace jumps from the top of the mansion to save Gromit from getting hurt, and he instead hits the ground, falling through a cheese tent, of all things.
Yeah.
But essentially dies. Like Wallace just kind of dies because it fell so hard.
We do think Wallace is dead, and so does everyone else. Like, everyone's crying over it. He sacrificed himself, essentially, to save Gromit. And like we were talking about earlier, the only thing that can really wake him up in the morning is cheese. So since he conveniently fell through that cheese tent, Gromit gets the idea, grabs the biggest, like, stinkiest cheese he can find, and puts it in front of Wallace's nose. And, of course, that does wake him up. And
he comes back to life.
Turn him back to normal. Like, he's no longer were-rabbit Wallace. He is just regular Wallace again with his love of cheese. He's not brainwashed to love vegetables anymore. And so that was a really fun moment. I really like this where he stands up. He's completely nude because, post-transformation, all his clothes are gone. So
this joke is so good.
This made me laugh a lot. Yeah. Because it was just timed so perfectly. And so, like, he's getting up and offering to hug Lady Tottington, but she's like, oh, like, you don't have any clothes on. And so Gromit gets a cheese box and puts it on over him, but on the cheese box, there's a little sticker that says may contain nuts. And I just thought that was so subtle and clever. It really got me.
That got me really big too. And then kind of going along with the thing of him constantly thinking Lady Tottington's going to kiss him and stuff. She talks about how she has an idea of what to do with the rabbits and everything and how to go on from here. And it ends up being that they open a rabbit sanctuary there at Tottington Hall. So they release all the rabbits that he's kept there, and they're kind of free to roam and do their thing.
Yeah.
And as part of that, Hutch gets to join, and Hutch is still, basically the Wallace version of a rabbit. He's still just the same.
Wallace promised that there will always be a part of him there at Tottington Hall, which is why he leaves Hutch, who is still just talking like Wallace. We also got to see like a big shot of Victor's butt, his bare butt, because he gets strung up on like part of this
Like
chapel or something. Yeah, a weather vane. And I like how the priest just like, beware the moon. And then it just shows his shiny butt.
Bitch's butt hanging out.
Yeah.
And he lost his toupee at one point, and instead he just had cotton candy the whole rest of the movie for hair.
And that persisted too. I like that because it became messier and messier as it went on.
Yeah, he had cotton candy for hair for like 20 something minutes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we sent our inner kids to help Wallace and Gromit rid Lady Tonnington's lawn of those pesky bunnies and maybe try to bring us home that 24-karat carrot while they're at it. Then see what they thought of Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
This movie was so silly, not very scary, but really fun. I just wish my dog could do all the cool things that Gromit does, like cook breakfast, build machines, fly planes, bring me back to life. Instead, she just licks her butt really loud every time I try to sleep.
This movie was awesome. It had dog flying planes, a giant bunny, a talking bunny, and a full set of buns. What more could you ask for? Except maybe less vegetables. Ick. I only eat those because Mom makes me.
Full set of buns. Come on.
I had to add the butt thing in there so that joke would make sense.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. You know, one thing that I think we didn't touch on much that really persists through this, and like it's going to bring us into what we like and everything about this, is there's a lot of innuendos in this movie too, like a lot of hidden stuff, especially like that scene with Wallace and Lady Tottington in her like secret garden.
Oh, you know, yeah, with the big melon-shaped vegetables.
Yeah, it's just nothing but innuendo after innuendo over and over and over.
Yeah, so this is where it's like, I feel like it can definitely be viewed by any audience and be appreciated on different levels.
Yeah, so, I mean, that said, let's get into what we liked and everything. So what were some of the things that you liked?
At an hour 20 something, I was worried that it would really start to drag since they had only really done shorts before as far as Wallace and Gromit property went. I didn't know if some of the jokes were going to get redundant or whatever, but once it got going, I was completely engaged, and that time really flew by. Like, there have been cartoons I've watched episodes of where I've checked the time more than I had to check the time on this to see, and those are only 20 or less minutes. So it's like they really paced this thing very well. The action scenes were great. The characters were all quirky and lovable in different ways. The production value was stellar. The jokes were on point, and the overall plot was ridiculously fun.
Yeah, I got to agree with pretty much all of those things, especially the animation. It was just top notch for this kind of style.
So good.
You kind of forget what it is as you're watching it. Like, you just kind of forget that it's all made out of clay and cloth and it's being moved around, and you know that it's not just all fluid. It's not all one fluid shot. It feels like it all is, but it's just a series of shots, and you don't feel like it is watching this because it's done so well. And
there are things that are touched up with CGI, but the figures themselves are all claymation, which is super impressive because, like you said, you forget. It doesn't look like you would expect. Like, if you're thinking back to something like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, those old like stop motion movies, it's like there's not even that jankiness to it. It's so smooth and just looks, you could be convinced that it was all CGI if you didn't know it was claymation.
And even like Nightmare Before Christmas was really, really good, but even that was nowhere near as smooth as something like this is.
Yeah, and that was using actual models too, not even claymation. Like, those were all pre-constructed models. So this is all the more impressive. They were able to keep the clay smooth enough, with the exception of certain scenes where you could see fingerprints or whatever. But I almost feel like that's not even a downgrade. That's just, like I said earlier, adds some charm to it.
Yeah, it gives it character for sure. I already kind of mentioned there's a ton more action than I expected, and it made it really exciting as opposed to what I was expecting, which was more of just tongue-in-cheek humor, which there was a lot of that, and that was really fun too. Like, the style of humor is pretty great. It's just that real classic British style humor, like lots of puns, lots of like miscommunication, tons of innuendo, as we've touched upon. So there's still tons of that cheekiness to it. But on top of that, they managed to squeeze in so many exciting moments and just action sequences that I would never have imagined that Wallace and Gromit would have like chase scenes and all kinds of, traps and having to jump from rooftops and an airplane battle and all kinds of stuff. It's just, it kind of blew my mind.
Was there anything you didn't like about this?
The only gripe I have, it's a very minor one, which is that the amount of cheese jokes halfway through the film, I was kind of over it.
Got a little too cheesy for you?
Oh, Joseph.
I'm sorry. Go on.
It's like I knew they would keep coming, and I figured that cheese is probably a fixture of the character for Wallace based on context clues. It kind of reminded me of when you're like 10 years old and the word cheese sounds funny. So you say it a lot and you use it for jokes. And then later you're just like, God, I was an annoying kid. Like it started to feel that kind of vibe for me. Like, sure, we get it. Cheese jokes. Kids are going to like it. Okay, let's move on from something other than, the word cheese. But it ended up coming back, though, in a way that sort of redeems it a little bit, in that cheese is the thing that ends up saving his life.
Yeah, this cheese resurrected this man. Give it some kind of credit.
Yeah, I appreciated it in that way. I think it was just the amount that I think it mostly had to do with Hutch, like the amount of times that he's ranting about cheese just started grating on me after a little bit. And I'm like, man, I get it. But I feel like you could do more jokes than just cheese with that character. But that's me being super overly critical. Is just the only thing that I had that I think stood out as something that I was like, eh.
I don't really have anything negative to say about this movie. I love cheese, so I didn't mind the cheese thing at all.
Hey, I like cheese too. There's nothing wrong.
It doesn't sound
cheese.
Like it, Chris. I'm doubting your love of cheese.
I had cheese today.
All right.
So
doesn't sound like it. But anyway. The humor that we touched on, it was more subtle at times, like British humor tends to be, or more tongue in cheek, like you said. And that may not be everyone's like cup of tea, but I was all for it. Like, I think it really worked in this setting. Even coming in this movie with a little knowledge of the franchise itself that I had, they did a great job of helping us understand the characters' personalities, their motivations, and their quirks right away. So you can come in completely fresh and still have a good time. It probably wasn't perfect, but maybe it was. I don't have any complaints.
There we go. You don't have complaints.
Nope.
You love cheese.
I do love cheese, and I loved Wallace and Gromit. So overall, what would you give this film?
Yeah, overall, I think it was really well done. It was super enjoyable. It impressed me for my first foray into the Wallace and Gromit world. And it's got me interested in seeing what else might be out there. It's not my favorite movie of all time that we've seen, but it really was a feat. It was something really impressive. I think that it exceeded any expectations I had by far. So I still have to give this film 5 bowls of may contain nuts cereal out of 5.
Perfect. I'd heard the names Wallace and Gromit thrown around throughout my life, and maybe I've seen like parts of one of the shorts or something, because I feel like I've seen them in motion, but I could not have tied the voice or any of their actions or personality types to them at all. So it must have been when I was much younger. So while the pacing of this movie was a little weird for me at first, given the lack of real familiarity with the characters, once I got used to it, it ended up being not only super charming, but also one of the all-time best claymation features I've ever seen, if not the best. So I now totally understand why England loves these two so much, and I'll definitely be hunting down those other shorts. So overall, I'd give Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit 5 big bowls of antipesto pop cereal out of 5, and highly recommend this film, whether you're familiar with the franchise or not.
Yeah. So thank you very, very much to Mike for suggesting this.
Yes. Thank you, Mike.
I don't think there would have been any other way for me to get into Wallace and Gromit, to be honest. So
that's one of the beauties of this show is introducing us to things that are very pleasant surprises, because now it's something, if I see at any point, like, oh, hey, Wallace and Gromit is showing at this thing, or if I run across it on a streaming channel, one of the shorts or something, I'm going to check it out now, because I'm like, okay, I know their characteristics. Let's see how that holds up as far as the short form goes.
Yeah, and maybe you'll eat some like cheese fondue while you do it.
I'm going to eat some cheese in honor of this movie right after the recording.
You know what? I'll go eat cheese too, just to prove I'm not a cheese hater. I'll eat some cheese.
I'm doubting your commitment to cheese suddenly.
I have so much pepper jack and shredded cheese and all kinds of stuff in the fridge right now. I'll commit. Anyway, don't forget to add your reviews and comments wherever you're listening to help us show up more on all the podcatchers out there. Most importantly, share the show on social media with friends or anyone you think might be interested, so we can help. Every little bit helps.
Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply has now run dry, or our cheese supply has now run dry. So it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, as we start off November, we'll be watching
The Great Mouse Detective, submitted via YouTube by Keith O.
I feel like I watched that like a year or two ago for unrelated reasons. I assumed it was for this show, but I guess not.
You know what? I wonder if there's cheese involved.
There better be. Yeah, I assume there is. It's a mouse.
I don't think I've seen it, honestly. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I remember liking it, so yeah. I think it'll be a fun week.
If not, I'll make sure to ruin everybody's hopes and dreams.
As you are wont to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And I hope everyone has a happy, safe Halloween, and we'll see you next Saturday.
Get out of my way.
Presented by Nerdsloth,
a place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.